We are also following all the local elections that are happening across Tampa Bay today, and there's some pretty important races. Mayoral races going on in St. Pete and Lakeland, amendments, city council races, and so much more. There's a lot on the line, and polls close in just under 2 hours. If you are casting your ballot after work, we are here to make sure that you have all the information needed to make the best decision possible. We'll run through what's going on the ballot. Our Courtney Robinson is here in studio. We'll break down the possible changes to one city's charter. But first, Bo Zimmer and Eric Glasser are covering both candidates in the race for St. Pete's mayor. That is a general election runoff between Democrat and 5-term Pinellas County Commissioner Ken Welch, who was endorsed by outgoing Mayor Rick Kreisman, who is term limited, and his opponent, Republican Robert Blackman, a current city council member for District 1. He is endorsed by a number of well-known Republicans, including former Mayor Rick Baker for the city of St. Pete and Florida House Speaker Chris Sproles. Let's start at the Welch camp. Our Bo Zimmer is live now at the Carter G. Woodson African American Museum. Bo, if he wins, he will be the city of St. Pete's first black mayor.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is a guy who has extremely deep roots all throughout Pinellas County and St. Pete. He's a fellow Lakewood Spartan like myself. Of course, I won't let that color our coverage at all tonight, but seriously, he is very well known throughout the entire Tampa Bay area. His father actually served on the St. Pete City Council, and there's no doubt Ken Welch has amassed a long list of endorsers on both sides of the bay and both sides of the political aisle as well. He says that's one of the things that would make him successful as mayor, bringing people and really the entire Tampa Bay area together, working as a region instead of just as one individual city. It's what he says he did for 20 years on the Pinellas County Commission, and now he says he has a long list of priorities for the city of St. Pete, where he grew up too.
Neighborhood safety and health, our infrastructure, making sure we keep up with the growth, and also making sure we have true affordable housing and affordability so that folks can stay in our city. The folks that made our city great are still able to live here with all the progress and growth that we're seeing.
And Ken Welch, when he was elected to the Pinellas County Commission, he became Pinellas County's only second black commissioner in their history. And if he is elected here in the city of St. Pete tonight, he would become the city's very first black mayor. And of course, there's another candidate who could also make history tonight as St. Pete's youngest mayor. We'll go over to my colleague Eric Glasser, who is standing by just across the city of St. Pete. And Eric, a busy night over there, a lot of action and excitement expected there as well.
You bet you, Bo. 32 years old. That's how old Robert Blackman is. So as you said, he would become the city's youngest mayor. No matter what the outcome of tonight's election, really a tremendous accomplishment on his part, such an amount of popularity politically here in the city of St. Pete at that young age. And a reminder to folks that, this is not really the general election that took place back in August. Blackman was one of the 2 top vote getters, along with Ken Welch, leading to today's runoff. So you take a look at some of the polls here in St. Petersburg, and they will tell you that although he is behind Ken Welch by double digits, it still says a lot about Blackman's popularity as a newcomer on the city council. He was able to solidify the conservative base in St. Pete and has carried that into today's election. But he was always going to be a less likely person to pick up votes from the more liberal-leaning candidates who didn't make it this far. I asked him about the poll numbers, and with a couple of hours left here before people to still get out and vote, here's what he said.
We don't need to have the public perception being that we're in first place, but I think we can pull it off. And I think it's kind of that mindset of we need to bring civility, but also the public servant and public leader mindset back to politics. That's what I'm trying to do. That's what I've tried to do on council, and just innovative thinking, new ideas, fresh ideas.
When this became a runoff election between Blackman and Welch, there was some question about what direction this campaign would take, whether it would become a referendum on national issues like masks, immigration, and vaccine mandates, issues that would draw conservatives to the polls. But for the most part, the 2 candidates, both in their debates and campaigns, have really stuck to local issues. I asked Blackman if in hindsight he thought that maybe that was the best strategy to take, to stick to those local issues instead of some of those others that might bring more of his base out to the polls. I'll have his answer for you coming up at 6.
And Eric, just taking a look right now at the turnout numbers, 75% of ballots in the city of St. Pete right now cast via mail over the in-person election day votes cast. So we'll see how that certainly turns out coming up tonight when polls close at 7. There's also an issue on the ballot that could change how people vote in the burg. Courtney Robinson joins us now with a look at what's at stake there.
Yeah, if you're voting in St. Pete, there are 7 questions related to the city's charter. One would put limits on how lines are drawn for city council seats. Another would eliminate citywide voting for district candidates and create a winner-take-all primary. Political analyst Lars Hafner says if passed, this means voters always get to decide their city council member for their district.
Currently, they have to run citywide, which costs a lot more money, and sometimes the outcome is not the same as what the local council district wants.
And when we talk about redistricting, when we talk about drawing those lines, this is where things can get really messy, Lars.
If Amendment 2 passes, there'll be more independence as to who is actually drawing those lines, and they're to do it more fairly based on demographics and boundary lines as opposed to gerrymandering based on party or other kind of issues.
A lot of really important things that St. Pete voters are going to be deciding tonight, and we are staying on top of the results. We will bring you those throughout the night right here on 10 Tampa Bay and, of course, on your free 10 Tampa Bay app. Ryan?
Courtney and our entire team will be covering these elections, and it's not just the city of St. Pete that we're keeping an eye on. Here's what else voters are deciding on tonight. In Polk, some city commission seats are up for grabs in Fort Meade City, Lakeland, and Winter Haven. Lakeland will also vote for its next mayor. Incumbent Mayor Bill Mutz is up against political newbie Sega Stephen. In Sarasota, some Venice Council seats are up for grabs as well. And Manatee County has the Bradenton Beach Mayor and Holmes Beach Commission elections as well. And a big one for Manatee County, whether or not to continue a mill tax funding county schools. The referendum, which was first approved in 2018, gives teachers on average a $5,800 pay raise. It also extends the school day by 30 minutes. But in order to afford it, property owners previously agreed to pay $100 for every $100,000 in property value. If extended, the tax bill will not go up. Now, if you haven't already voted, you can get a voter's guide simply by texting 727-577-8522. With that link, you're going to get every single breakdown on what is on the ballot tonight. Again, Manatee, Pinellas, Polk, Sarasota counties. We're going to be covering heavily that St. Pete mayoral candidate race, which is expected to be an interesting one between, again, Ken Welch and Robert Blackman. That's all coming up tonight. We will have your coverage here on 10tampabay.com.